What up? All right, so welcome to another video. I think if you guys have watched some of my past videos, you know that health is a really big thing for me, whether it be physical or mental. And I like to think that this channel really reflects that a whole lot. So in today's video, I want to talk about another health related topic. I want to talk about like my personal experience with my own health, more physical than mental. I think we focused on mental a whole lot more. So I want to paint a picture for you guys on where I was growing up and when I was at my heaviest. So let's go ahead and throw up this wonderful image of me. I know I've shown it in another video, but this time we can actually put some like real context to it. So to paint a picture of who I was as a kid, I play video games all the time. Whenever Overwatch came out, I was on that shit all the time. Granted, I still play it today. Great game. Judge me for that if you want. But I was a bigger kid. I think I peaked around 190 pounds. And if I'm going to be honest and realistic relating to that photo, I want to say that I was probably 190 pounds at, oh man, 5'6" to 5'8" in height. Fast forward today, I'm 6 foot. But during that time period, there was a lot of things that I could have changed, but then there was also a couple things that I was dealt a hand that was kind of shitty. So I lived in the middle of nowhere, but I also live in the US where we kind of have an obesity problem. So being bigger, unfortunately, wasn't necessarily a giant red flag. To some people it was, but we also have some kind of stigma around telling people they need to lose weight at times, even though it is like a general health thing. So for me, I lived in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't much I could go do outside. I had like an old basketball hoop outside and a little bit of a yard, but I lived so secluded in like the country that if I wanted to go to a friend's house, it was like a 20-minute walk on a busy road. And I couldn't do that when I was younger. My parents wouldn't have it. And so growing up, I was also in a family of divorce and I was living with my mom. My mom worked night shifts and she was either asleep during the day and gone during the night. So once I was old enough, I was making myself food and I didn't know anything about nutrition. So to add to all of that, I also had a condition called Sever's disease. So on my right foot here, it's good now, obviously, but if you don't know what Sever's disease is, so I was wearing a medical boot from the fourth grade all the way up to my freshman year in high school. So I do want to say that that was probably one of the bigger factors that stopped me from being physically active, and kind of got me bigger. But another one that I want to add is that it was a lot of like lack of information. So the topic of this video is how something healthy made me unhealthy. And I eventually started to do research online as a kid, and I wanted to lose weight. I felt like an outcast. I got stared at. There wasn't as many kids at my school that were as big as I was. It was kind of like you were sticking out like a sore thumb, and I wanted to move forward from that. So I decided to go on my weight loss journey. Now, the problem I have with this is that I feel like even in high school, granted, this story is taking place in middle school, I never really got any kind of information from like schooling on how to eat right. We were told, make sure you eat vegetables, make sure you eat fruit, make sure you get meat and some whole grain. Like that was the whole thing. And the problem with that is I personally had the issue of, okay, I can eat those things, but I didn't know what a calorie was. I didn't know what protein did for me. I didn't know what kind of nutrients I needed from certain types of foods. And I'm still not 100% like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the most like knowledgeable person on this, but I know more information now than I did then. And I feel like it's kind of ironic to be living in a country where we have an obesity problem, yet we're not actually teaching children the right information to get past that issue or make sure that issue doesn't stay in this country. And you can go down like a whole rabbit hole of like, well, that's what like fast food's for and it makes us money, so why would we stop and whatever. But in my eyes, it's quite silly and it led me down a very unhealthy and bad road. Starting off my weight loss journey, I was kind of getting a little physical. I was like doing curls and stuff with some weights, maybe some like squats with like a dumbbell in my hand. I think it's goblet squats, something like that. I don't know. But I was losing weight at a good rate. I swapped everything I ate to literally just chicken, rice, and vegetables. I'm not sure where I got that information from, but before that, it was just Caesar salads like all the time, and that did nothing for me. But I think it's because I wasn't eating the right things. So I swapped to eating something better, and I was losing weight. And that was great. I had this whole thing where I was being very unhealthy in between then of just not knowing what portion control was. So I'm finally losing weight, and I'm having family members, I'm having people at my school, I'm having just the people in my community saying, holy shit, like, congratulations, you've now lost 30 pounds. That took me about 1 year to do at how old? I was probably like 15, 16 ish, maybe 14. I don't know. But somewhere in that ballpark. And it's kind of funny because some people will discredit you that's older because you're younger and your metabolism is better than theirs. And okay, yeah, don't get me wrong, that helps. But like, you really shouldn't discredit anybody in any kind of situation when they're being healthy. I feel like that's a little counterintuitive and a little bit showing of someone's character, but that's a side rant again. Sorry, but that did happen to me. I had people that were like, "Well, you only lost weight because you're younger." Not, "Hey, congratulations." So I never really got too much reward from people in the public eye growing up with things like sports. Never, "Hey, good game." Like, I went to your game and you did great. And my grades were good and things like that, but I kind of kept it private. And my family kind of expected me to get good grades. So I was never like, I guess, told good job on your grades, or I wasn't told good job as hard as I was told good job on my weight loss journey. And so this is where things get really unhealthy for me. I've now lost 30 pounds. I'm down from 190 to 160. And at this point, that's a good weight for me. I think I'm getting closer to 6 foot at this point too. So 160 at 6 foot, freshman year. I don't really need to lose too much more weight. But now all of a sudden I'm not being told good job anymore. And I'm really missing that feeling. So you might be able to tell where this story is going, but I wanted to keep feeling good about myself and having people telling me good job. So I kept losing weight, and I kept losing weight, and I kept losing weight, and it got harder and harder and harder. And so for someone that doesn't know anything about health or nutrition at a young age, I decided I'm going to stop eating. And there was a good portion of my freshman year where I would go a couple days without eating. Man, that's a challenge. I'm going to eat now. I didn't lose any weight. I got it all back. Okay. So it finally got to a point. I didn't eat for like a week and a half, and I was getting really ill. I went to take a shower before I went to school. I almost passed out in the shower. I ate something immediately after. I was like, I think I've gone beyond where I'm supposed to be. And I was in the bathroom just getting sick. Now, I stopped fasting per se. That's what I called it. I was starving myself. And I kept trying to eat smaller and smaller amounts or healthier and healthier foods. And without the information of knowing what I was doing, but still getting told you're doing a good job, I finally got down to 150 and I was just skin and bones. So I think the main thing I want to get out in this video is that if you're someone younger than me or someone older than me, I would like people to learn from what I'm trying to say here and don't do the mistakes I did. It's nice for people to tell you that you're looking better and you're definitely healthier and you're quitting a bad habit. But at the same time, I think you need to realize that there's a time to stop. And I wish what I would have known, and if you're someone that's in this same demographic as me here, and you're losing weight, and let's say you're at a goal weight that you should be, it's time to stop losing weight at some point, and it's time to move on. And I think one thing I'd like people to learn from me is that there's a point where you need to stop losing weight, and there's a point where you need to start putting weight back on. And I don't mean, you need to put fat on or anything like that. I mean, if you want to continue off of a healthy journey, which something I didn't know was that you can change the way you eat and you can start eating more. But if you get physically active, that's your next steps. For me, I didn't realize that. I thought the next step was just to stay skinny and get as skinny as I could before my body was like, hey, this is it. For some reason, I thought there'd be some kind of milestone telltale sign, and there's not. There's not. You will literally become like anorexic if you let it happen and you don't let it click with you. I had no one telling me that, hey, maybe it's time to stop. So if you're in my shoes, you need to know when it's time. And I want to say, I think the biggest takeaway I kind of want from this video is I don't understand why as a nation or like just this country as a whole, like why we have an obesity problem, yet we don't have the information on how to stop it. Or we do have the information, but we're not pushing it. And it's such an interesting topic to think about, especially from someone that's kind of been through it with the health cycle of I was bigger, then I'm smaller, and now I'm, I would say, more fit and healthy overall. But too much of a good thing is definitely a bad thing. And I turned a good thing into something that was bad. And I think that a lot of people need to realize where that line is. Um, and if you don't, genuinely just do some research. Like, look on YouTube. If someone's telling you to starve yourself, that's not it. But I personally went out of my way to start following fitness people, and I was looking up diets, but don't look up fad diets. I was going into bodybuilding. So now I know how many calories I need to eat. You can go and do a BMI test, which is like rough. Like, my BMI test was telling me when I was at my skinniest that like I was chill. That's not it. But I mean, if you don't take it exact and you're kind of, I don't know, like it can help a little. But I think it's really important for people to understand calories and calories out and what you need to be healthy rather than being too big or too small. Because for some reason, for me, and I think the way media portrays things sometimes is that you can't be too small, and you definitely can. That's my story. I just think that I want to help anybody that could be in that same situation as I was and make sure that you know what's good and what's not. And if I can help a couple people with that, that's amazing. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. Um, Obviously, this isn't too far from the other videos I've made in the past. This is definitely another health video, whatever. But I'm changing up the scenery like every video at this point. And I think I really like this one. It's pretty fire. I am moving out soon, though. So even though I think I just found my favorite setup for these videos, it's going to go away soon. But if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on this topic are in the comments. If you guys want to continue this topic with me or anybody else, talk about it in the comments. I'm here to hear about it. And as always, if you guys have any recommendations on anything you want me to talk about, leave them down below. Maybe I'll just make a video on it. I appreciate you guys for coming in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.